Hello, Cyril White. This is my GORUCK Heavy After Action Report. It is June 2nd, 2019, Sunday, and completed my first heavy. Here's my patch to prove it. It was awesome. It was not the standard heavy, I believe. But it was still super cool, and there were 10 of us. No one quit. A couple people wanted to quit. The team wouldn't let them quit. I honestly never thought about quitting. I thought a couple of times, what in the hell are you doing, as usual, but I never thought about quitting, and my body held up really well. I was happy with that. Didn't have any cramping or anything, hydrated really well. They were really good about making sure we had plenty of water to drink all the time. And what I mean by the fact that it wasn't really the standard event was the event was supposed to start at the Pinckney Recreation Area, which is literally 20 miles from my house. I train there all the time, do stuff there all the time, so that was kind of cool. But at the same time, it was kind of a bummer to be somewhere that I was familiar with, because that's part of the cool thing about doing these events, is being somewhere totally unfamiliar. But it was cool. So I showed up there. That day I woke up at 4 a.m. I worked. I closed several new memberships at our gym, which was awesome that morning. And then I went into preparation mode. I packed my truck full of all kinds of stuff. I was going to do the Heavy Tough Light, the HCL, but I didn't. I only did the heavy, and that was enough. Had the heavy continued, you know, if it was 48 hours or 36 hours or whatever, I could have continued, but just having it stop and then doing a second event and waiting around, that's a deal killer, man. And I was hurting. I was ready for it to be over, but I could have continued. My body was in pretty good shape except for my feet. So the event was supposed to start at 6 p.m. We're all waiting around at the Pinckney Recreation Area, and there was another group there that was Midwest Suck or something, that was doing their own ruck thing and camping out or something. And during the week, I was thinking how impressed I was that GORUCK must go around and have to procure the right permits and everything to do these events in cities and parks and public areas, because as far as I knew, you're not supposed to stay overnight in the Pinckney Recreation Area on public land unless you get some kind of a permit or something. The gates close at dusk, and they open at dusk, and you're not supposed to be there at night. So I assumed that GORUCK had procured the requisite things that they needed, permits or whatever that they needed to have us do this. And we showed up there, and then the cadre showed up, and they're super cool. Cadre Pike and Pogue, Mike, and ex-Marines. Cadre Pike was a retired Marine recon, and Cadre Pogue is a current MARSOC Opera Special Forces. So that was cool. But they showed up, and then the park rangers showed up with their ticket books, and it appears that GORUCK did not procure or know about procuring the requisite permits for us to be there overnight. So we all packed in our vehicles, and we drove around to other parks and had to dodge the park rangers that were after us to make sure we weren't just going to go to another one. And we went to the Cassidy Lake park on the DTE trail, and we had to park in the street and then wait there while we did the admin and all that stuff. And then when everyone was out of the park, we moved our vehicles into the park. So it was kind of a little bit of a logistical nightmare. But that was cool, because that was part of it too. It was, you know, the unknown. That's all part of these things, being able to adapt and adjust to uncomfortable situations. So we really didn't start until about 7 p.m. and we were the only ones in the park, and we had to pretend that we were just individuals out rucking if the Rangers did come, and we had to be super quiet at night and use very minimal light while we were humping around the trails, so that we didn't have any park rangers kick us out of the park. So that was interesting. But we started off with a PT session of some Navy diver qualification PT test or something, which consisted of 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, 2 minutes of leg levers, 2 minutes of spreading your legs apart while you're on and bringing them back together. These are all 3-count reps, about 20 or 2 minutes each, and a couple of other exercises. And I was happy that I was the last, if not, I never quit on any of the exercises as some of the other members did. And I was probably 15 years older than the next oldest person. There were a bunch of guys that were in their mid-30s and then in their 20s, and an Army recruiter. And I hung in there and beat actually everyone on several of the exercises and came in first and felt good. And I had been up since 4 a.m. that morning. I tried to take a nap during the day, but that was hard, so I was pretty tired when I got there, but I just kicked it into competition mode and was happy with my performance in the PT sessions. Then we went for a 5-mile run, and on the dirt roads it was nice. The weather was super nice. The bugs sucked. There were mosquitoes the entire 24 hours or 22 hours. They were awful. I had minimal bugs. I had some bug spray. I put a little bit on, but I didn't want it getting in my eyes. And it really didn't. I don't think it did much. I got bug bites all over my body. The other thing I would say was that I had pretty bad chafing on my hips from my belt and from the ruck, I think, and on my back. I didn't use any Body Glide or anything. During the halfway point, we were allowed to go back to our vehicles because we had to wait around for them to get water. And the cadre were just improvising the entire time, and I really respected that they threw together still an event having to improvise from the start, and they were super cool about it. They never got flustered or angry, and that was really good to just witness that calm professionalism in the face of adversity. And they did it. But you know, the event was probably a little easier because we did get to go back to our vehicles. I got to put on more bug spray. I got to have a couple kill cliffs and a banana and an apple, and that made me feel really good, and sit in the sun. And we did wait around quite a bit during the event and take breaks, which I think was probably more than a regular event. And I'm signed up for the Columbus GORUCK Heavy on the 19th of July that I'm doing with my friend Ken Hamilton, and I'm looking forward to that being probably a more traditional, less breaks, mentally and physically challenging event. But that's not to say that we got pushed, and I was pushed to some pretty good limits during this event. Went for the 5-mile run, felt good on that. I could feel my feet starting to get the hot spots on the bottoms. Not sure what they look like today. Not too bad, but you can see that's my my linchpin right there is on the bottom of my foot. That gets really hot during long runs and even not even that long ruck. So I definitely think, and I talked to some of the guys while we were on breaks, I definitely think there's something going on with my footwear. My foot keeps getting wider and longer because of my arches falling, and I think that makes my foot too wide, and that all the boots I've tried are just too narrow for my wide foot. And I gotta find a boot that doesn't have a heel and that has a super wide toe box. During the event I used these Nikes, I forget what they're called, second generation something. still wet. As you can see, they don't dry out very fast, but they're a good boot. I mean, just wearing them around, they're the version 2 of some Nike SR or something, but they're a great boot. You know, on just wearing them around, running in them felt fine, felt good. They're super light. They have great ankle protection, which I wanted, seeing as we were on the trails in the complete blackness with rocks all over. But I get the hot spots even after like 3 miles of rucking or running, and that's just not suitable or acceptable, because literally the entire event I couldn't wait to take a break, and thank God we got to take breaks, because then my feet feel better and I can do another 3 miles or whatever. But it's like walking on shards of glass the entire time, and that takes it's hard to focus and put out 100% on those evolutions when you're just thinking about every step. But that's, you know, that's part of it too, and that's part of the mental game that I need to get stronger, and so that was good. Built up my mental toughness somewhat. We did team PT push-ups with our feet on our shoulders around in a circle. I was able to hold those push-ups and hold them up until after the cadre said down. And it was super cool. You know, we did PT at night. We walked around the trails all frickin' night. We sat there in silence on the trails in the middle of the night with the stars up above. That was, you know, super cool. When do you get to do that, you know, in your own mind, and helping each other, carrying. We all had to carry additional heavy weight. Excuse me. They're called coupons, sandbags, this ridiculous sand-filled fire hose that someone made as our team weight, which totally sucked. We didn't get to carry the American flag because we didn't want to advertise that we were a group, a sanctioned, organized group out there disobeying the rules of the DNR. So, and that was kind of a relief, because it's hard carrying that flag and not having it touch the ground and hitting it on stuff. It was one less thing to worry about. The team didn't bicker that much. It was good. There was good levity, and it was a good team, and we all pulled together. We did the 12-mile ruck almost at the end, and that's when my feet really came apart, but we did it, and I did it with the other gentleman who was having a tough time, and he really was having a tough time from the beginning. He was not in shape at all to do this event, and but everyone got him through. And that's the other great thing you learn at these events, is that the human is possible of amazing things that you wouldn't think were possible, but with the team and support, you're capable of even many more amazing things beyond your abilities, and that's super cool to learn. So I did the 12-mile ruck with him. Problem was we took a wrong turn because everyone else was so far ahead of us, and ended up coming back before everyone else, it took us about 3 hours, 3-hour ruck. So that was fun. It took everyone else about 4 hours, 3.5 hours, close to 4, 3.5, to do the 12-mile ruck. We probably did 5 miles. 10 miles or 11 miles, excuse me. But we took a wrong turn, and we paid for it with PT, just he and I. The cadre showed us some good living, and that was good, challenging. But again, I felt strong on all the PT. I felt like I could just do the reps. I think it was still challenging, but I think they could have obviously just crushed us, but they didn't, and they were pretty understanding. But they tested us too. Did a lot of rucking, which is my weak point. my weakness that I have to work on predominantly because of my feet. So we did over 42 miles, and felt good at the end. I didn't feel like, you know, super crushed, but obviously I was tired and ready to go home and get in bed. I felt mentally strong and physically strong. Again, as I said, except for my feet, but I was tired, and for sure. And I think that I'd risk injury had I continued on and done the tough. And I could have done it, but that several hour wait. And then, as it turns out, the weather just got super nasty right at the start of the tough. So I doubt there were many people doing it anyway. So that's my story. I hope it helps someone, and I'll let you know how the next one goes. Thanks.